Hi, I'm Desiree Beecham. I work with Catalyst Intercultural. We are, as most of you know, an intercultural training and consulting company here in the United States. We're based out of Greenville, South Carolina. And I recently had the privilege to complete a really, really interesting project working with a refugee organization in Brazil. And this is Mariana, and she is the person that I was working with. She's the president of SIETAR Brazil and an intercultural trainer and consultant in Brazil. So, Mariana, tell us a little bit about the Missão Paz and the refugee project and the story of how you guys got involved working with this.
Yes, hello Desiree, it's very nice to be talking to you. Thank you for the opportunity. Okay, so first thing, Missão Paz is a part of the Catholic Church, okay, and they have always been involved in helping immigrants and refugees all over the world. So in Brazil, we have this church, and they have received in the past 4 years almost 20,000 immigrants that have arrived in Brazil. So what do? They offer a place to stay for very few people. Always the privilege goes to, priority goes to women and children. They also offer documentation for those immigrants, so they help the immigrants to have documents. But the most important thing that they do is that they put the immigrants in contact with companies that might hire them. So they actually help those people to find a job. Okay, so this is Missão Paz, an NGO in Brazil, part of the Catholic Church. I am from SIETAR Brazil. SIETAR Brazil is the Society for Intercultural Education, Training and Research in Brazil. And I've been SIETAR Brazil president for the past year. My engagement, my involvement in this project started 3 years ago. I was still the vice president. Someone from SIETAR Brazil was invited by Missão Paz to deliver trainings informally. It worked. So now it's mandatory for every immigrant that tries to find a job through Missão Paz. They are obliged to go to an intercultural training provided by SIETAR Brazil. We are there every week, and we deliver trainings in up to 3 languages.
Wow, so that is a lot of work and a lot of effort is going into this. What kinds of things are the intercultural trainings that you provide? What kinds of topics or issues do those deal with?
Perfect. Well, the first thing we realized is that we had to explain to the immigrants and refugees their situation in Brazil. If you wish, the intercultural trainers, they are the first ones to get in contact with the immigrants, because people at Missão Paz, they don't speak the immigrants' language. They just speak Portuguese. So we are almost the first people to really speak their language and explain to them their situation in Brazil. So there is this idea of giving them support to understand what they can and what they cannot do in Brazil, even their legal situation. We also talked about communication. In intercultural field, we all know there's the direct and the indirect way of communicating. Most immigrants arriving in Brazil, they come from French speaking countries, so they have this more direct way of communicating, and which shocks a lot with Brazilian culture, since we are a very indirect and complex communication culture. We also talk about conflict, the way we understand conflict, because normally those immigrants, they like conflict, they solve problems through conflict, whereas in Brazil we are a very conflict avoider society.
Right.
So we try to explain to them how to get along better with their bosses or bosses to be, and how to get along with people better during the interview, so they're not misunderstood.
Yes.
And also, we sometimes have to discuss hygiene aspects, because Brazil has this very high hygiene pattern, which for some countries it's just a waste of water, not having 2 to 3 showers a day.
Right.
So we talk with them about that. We also talk about racism issues, because although we have more than 50% of Brazilian population that is Afro-descendant, we still have a very, very racist society in Brazil, in the sense that not even more than 6% of the Afro-descendants are in important positions in the society, in the Brazilian society.
Okay.
Let's say in the companies, let's say in the politics, everywhere in Brazilian society. So we hear a lot from the immigrants and refugees that for the first time in their lives they were obliged to deal with racism. They didn't know that before, and they suffer from that in Brazil.
Okay, so let's talk about the game a little bit now. So you and I worked together to create, or it was already created by SIETAR in Europe, right? This training tool. We were calling it a game, but as you were saying earlier when we were talking, game isn't really a good word for it. This tool or this experience takes people who are in the training and walks them through the path of a refugee, helps them experience what the refugee has experienced and see life from the perspective of a refugee. How are you using this tool now in your training?
Okay, well, first thing, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's your goodwill of starting translating the game that everything actually happened. So we just launched the game. We used the game in SIETAR Brazil conference. The game is mostly to be used with people who work with refugee and immigrants, not necessarily with them. We can use this with them, but not at the time they arrive. Wait a bit for them to establish themselves and feel a little better, because the game provokes some feelings and it might not be very good for them. So we advised to use the game, which was a game created by Caritas France.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and then translated by SIETAR France.
Okay.
So most of the translations in the world, the game is translated in more than seven languages now. Most of the translations were made by SIETAR people. Okay, so the game is to be played with people who work with refugees and immigrants. So now SIETAR Brazil is also offering, it's our project that we just started, we are also offering intercultural trainings for NGOs that work with immigrants and refugees, not only to the immigrants and refugees. And this is where we will be using the game to bring their stories close to the people who work with them, so they can empathize more with the cause.
Yeah, that's very cool. I know when I did the game, it was a really powerful experience for me when I was working on the translation, because I knew a lot about refugees and immigrants in general, but the game makes everything so personal and so intense, and you can't ignore the human experience that these people are going through, and the pain and the suffering and the trauma and the frustration and just the horrible experiences that they have to have. So that was very, very powerful for me. And then earlier you were telling me about some of the effects that it had in your training when you gave it for the first time, the results that you saw, the impact that you saw on people. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, definitely. When I had to read these stories, although I've been working with these people for more than 3 years now, it brought me much closer to the situations they live, to the decisions they have to make, to the lack of alternative they actually have in their lives. So, as you've just said, we don't like to call it a game,
right?
Because it's much more an experience of empathy with suffer. So it's something hard.
Yeah.
When we talk about a game, normally people think about entertainment or winning or losing, and this is definitely not about that.
Right.
It's actually much more having empathy to a losing and very frustrating and very sad experience. So I think sometimes we talk a lot about a cause, and we do not get the time to actually understand what's happening with those people, really feel what they feel. So the game definitely helps on that.
Yeah, absolutely. That was absolutely my experience when I was translating it. You think about things so intellectually, and it removes it from real experience. And then when you walk through these stories, it really comes alive. And I know I came out of it even as a trainer, like you said, with a lot more empathy and understanding than before I did it. So I was really excited to get to have a part in helping with such a powerful and useful tool.
And another thing that I've realized that it takes a time, so you get to integrate all these stories in the sense that you start dreaming about that,
Yes.
and then you're doing something in your life, and then you remember about that story, and somehow it also gives you a lot of strength to live your own life, because when you remember about all the challenge those people had to survive,
Right.
then it gives you a lot of strength to just live your life, actually.
Yeah, it really puts things in perspective. It definitely changes your mindset. So, given that you have all of this massive experience with working with refugees, working with immigrants, and helping get these people settled in and being productive, what advice do you have for other countries? Since, as you know, the whole world is kind of having a refugee crisis right now. What is the best advice you would give for other countries, other places, other organizations that are starting in this work?
Well, I would say before trying to help them, listen to their stories, listen to their needs. One thing that I've realized is that we always come with the solutions, and we do not necessarily pay attention to what they really need.
So tell me, what is the most important thing that you would like people in the U.S., which is where we're based, to know about? Your organization, the work you're doing, the refugees themselves. What's the big thing? If they remember one thing from us talking today, what would you like them to know?
We have to learn better how to deal with differences. SIETAR, interculturalism, immigration, refugees, it's all about learning how to deal with differences.
How can people here in the U.S. help out? What can we do to contribute and help further your efforts and help these refugees?
Perfect. First thing, you can volunteer just as you did. You learned about our project, you offered yourself to volunteer, and you will incorporate you in some project. And also, if it's just fast interest to the cause, you can. We will be opening our crowdfunding in 2 or 3 months, and then you can also help sending us some money for our crowdfunding. But most important, if you want to be our volunteer in this virtual world, we have a lot of work for you. So just get in contact with us, and we will find something for you to do.
Yeah, and I will definitely make sure that all of the contact information is connected to this video so people can get in. Well, I really recommend anybody who has an interest to work with you guys. It was a great experience for me. I learned so much. I'm really grateful for the opportunity, and it's really meaningful to know that I contributed to a project that's making such a real difference in the world. So I really appreciate you guys and everything that you're doing, both from my personal perspective and from just the good that you're doing in the world in general. So thank you, and thank you for being here today and for sharing this with us. We'll make sure and share your contact details with everyone, and the crowdfunding page, when that is up and running, we'll share that as well. So any last thoughts from your side, Mariana?
Well, we just thank you personally very much, Desiree, for everything you did for our project. You were already part of our team. We are very proud of this project. We saw that we are changing lives. So thank you very much also for letting people know that they can actually help also.
So thank you everybody for listening today and for getting to know about SIETAR Brazil and the organization there, the work that they're doing. Be sure you look in the post for their contact information. If you're here in the US, you can also find our contact information for Catalyst Intercultural and SIETAR USA. And also we have included some pictures of the games that we did, of the tool that we created. So look down there. It's very beautiful. It's a really great project. And thank you for listening.